Hey, Lakes Community Church, Pastor Chase here. Hope that you had a great Monday. Tonight we are going to be digging into Hosea 13 and 14. We're going to be talking about a couple aspects out of each chapter. The reason why we're coming into these chapters is because this is what Caitlin and I have been studying. All of Hosea is speaking about the idolatry and rebellion of Israel and how God has sent Hosea to bring them back from that and to warn them. Hosea is a contemporary of Jeremiah and Isaiah. He's the first of the minor prophets that we see. And so when we're talking and reading through these chapters, there's one thing that I want to note is that it talks a lot about Ephraim. Now, Ephraim was one of Joseph's sons that Jacob blessed, saying that he was going to become one of the greatest out of all of them. And sure enough, he did. So Ephraim became one of the largest tribes, and so the northern tribes of Israel can be known and referenced by their largest tribe, which is Ephraim. So if you see Ephraim in the Old Testament, know that that's just a reference to Israel itself because of Jacob's blessing. So in this particular time in Israel's history, we see that they are making political alliances for security rather than trusting in the Lord, which is an issue, and God is pretty upset with them about this. Secondly, they are experiencing a lot of political peace and material wealth while also diving deep into spiritual corruption and immorality. So there's some issues here that God is trying to correct, but Israel won't listen. So this is kind of God's response that we're going to be reading. This is a part of God's justice and his, honest fairness. And this is a part of God that we don't really like to see. We like and love the idea of God's justice, but we don't like it when it's being dispensed on his people. It makes us uncomfortable because we love God's justice, but only when it's being applied to other people who have done bad things, not us who have done bad things. So when we see God talking about his wrath towards his own people, it's really uncomfortable for us, but we need to become familiar with it, and we need to be comfortable with God's justice because of his mercy. So let's read in 13. We're going to go 13 verses 7 through 12. All right, so this is God speaking through Hosea, and he says this. So I will be like a lion to them. Like a leopard, I will lie in wait by the wayside. I will encounter them like a bear robbed of her cubs, and I will tear open their chests. There I will devour them like a lioness, as a wild beast would tear them. It is your destruction, O Israel, that you are against me, against your help. Where is your king, that he may save you in all your cities, and your judges of whom you requested? Give me a king and princes. I gave you a king in my anger, and I took him away in my wrath. The iniquity of Ephraim is bound up, his sin is stored up. So this is the part of God that we don't like. This is his justice. This is his wrath. These are parts of God's character that we need to know, but we don't like to get to know them because of how scary it is. And I understand it's a frightening thing. Like I said, it's been really fun. It's been really good to learn about God, but it's also been pretty terrifying at the same time. But we need to know this because God isn't going to be who we want him to be. God is who he is, and we need to come to terms with that. Now, this is God's wrath being poured out on the rebellion of Israel. This is him talking to them in their rebellion. But this is also in 14 is God demonstrating his love and commitment to Israel. And so let's read that really quick too. And that is going to be 1 through 7. So Hosea chapter 14, 1 through 7. Return, O Israel, to the Lord your God, for you have stumbled because of your iniquity. Take words with you and return to the Lord. Say to him, take away all iniquity and receive us graciously, that we may present the fruit of our lips. Assyria will not save us. We will not ride on horses, nor will we say again, our God to the works of our hands. For in you the orphan finds mercy. I will heal their apostasy. I will love them freely, for my anger has turned away from them. I will be like the dew to Israel. He will blossom like the lily, and he will take root like the cedars of Lebanon. His shoots will sprout, and his beauty will be like the olive tree, and his fragrance like the cedars of Lebanon. Those who live in his shadow will again raise grain, and they will blossom like the vine. His renown will be like the wine of Lebanon. So here we see God's mercy and his love for his people, but we also see his wrath and his justice. And this is a really good picture of who God is. And I'll say that it is God's wrath and justice that led to his greatest act of mercy, which is Christ dying on the cross for us. So becoming very familiar with all of who God is extremely important. And so like Pastor Gabe said, we hope that we can grow through this time not just get through this time. So I want to encourage you to get into Hosea and find out more about who God is and how much he despises rebellion. So, and this is a hyperlink to Jeremiah 7. So you can go ahead and read that, maybe read that first and then read Hosea, kind of see all of what Israel was doing. But get to know God for who he is, not who we want him to be. Take this time, take this opportunity to really dig deep. So we love you guys. I hope that you have an amazing rest of your night and a good week, and we'll see you in the next pastoral video. Have a good night, guys.